Wow, it is hot outside. That's why I like put my pump cover on and I was driving. It was like 102 degrees, like outside, and it was very hot in the car, obviously, because it was just like outside. And I like immediately was like, I got to get some of these clothes off. So that's why my shirt's kind of around my neck. Don't worry, I'll put it on. I'm not gonna go into the gym and be undressed. At least until I have a pump to show off, right? Or if they're like sweating us out again. Hopefully that's not happening because it is egregiously hot outside. I could use some air conditioning. That's the whole benefit of living in 2024. Modern luxuries and convenience. But welcome to another episode of Gym Therapy. Today's a special one. Today's for the boys. I, in the effort of kind of always trying to represent both sides to every narrative, thought it would be important to address the opposite of are men failing women, and the inverse of that is are women failing men. I think it's important to talk about, I guess, the social challenges that we're all kind of facing, right? Like, no doubt, as we addressed in the video, that women face challenges from men in a myriad number of ways. But I think the inverse is true. And we kind of like talked about a couple of things. I was thinking about it after the fact. And we're addressing societal issues for both sides, right? Men and women. So I just thought it would be prudent to discuss both sides. Also, I just can't let you girls get away with it. Y'all really thought I was just gonna make a video talking about how men are kind of fucking up, and I wasn't gonna talk about how you girlies are a little bit too. Got it all wrong. Look, nobody is beyond criticism in gym therapy. Not me, not you. Even though I like to think everyone tuning into gym therapy are paragons of the demographic they represent, I think we all have the ability to learn, and sometimes it's hard to see other people's opinions, especially how they're framed online, with a lot of negative connotation. A lot of people are very emotional when they present their arguments, and a lot of times we're already emotionally charged when we go into subjects like this, and we're not always willing to hear the other side. So hopefully we can find some middle ground. I can say some things that might be insightful to you in the way that you interact with the opposite sex, because I definitely think there are issues that go really unnoticed. We'll kind of double down on some of the ones I touched on previously in that last video, but perhaps talk about some new ones. And what really prompted this was, one, I had been thinking about doing it, but I saw several kind of clips online today that bothered me, that maybe I don't understand. And in some portion of gym therapy is me talking about things I see online and kind of working my way through what I saw and how I'm interpreting it. So we're going to address those things, but largely the topic, of course, is, are women failing men? So that being said, we're going to go do a shoulder and a chest day, and I will see you on the very first machine. Well, the good news is it's rather nice in here. So we're gonna get our first shoulder workout in. We are upping weight again, so hopefully 5 or 6 reps, 3 sets, call it there. And then we'll get into this topic. That's tough. I think I say that a lot. Like, I'll do a set and it's hard, and I'll be like, that's tough. I'm starting to notice my own little character quirks. But On to today's very, no doubt, controversial topic. What started me down this journey of, I guess, broaching this today was I saw a video of a girl who was more or less talking about a date that she had been on. And she was like, you know, he met me at my place, he picked me up, he had flowers, he then opened the car door for her, they went to the restaurant, because they were getting dinner, opened the door there, paid for dinner. She said that the conversation was good, dropped her off, didn't make any unwanted sexual advances, and then it was a good date. But then at the end, like, she made it sound like he was doing like all these like really good things. At the end, she was like, I haven't decided if I want to see him again. I was like, okay, that's strange. You're saying like everything went really well, so why haven't you decided if you wanted to see him again? But whatever, that's not really the point. I then go to the comments, and they had just a lot of people, girls, of course, who were saying, you know, the bar is on the floor, don't accept the bare minimum, just doing what is basically required, blah, 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 blah. They even said, some girls, like, you know, he didn't do enough, don't see him again. You also had girls, of course, saying, you know, he's a king, see him again, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like as I was scrolling through, the kind of neutral to negative, like, far outweighed the positive, right? He's just barely doing what is, or should be, expected. I guess my first question is, if that is just doing the bare minimum, you know, bringing her flowers, opening her car door, opening all the doors, right? Being a gentleman, walking on the right side of the traffic-facing side of the sidewalk, paying for dinner, being, you know, providing interesting conversation, like being active in the conversation, asking questions, like being present in it. I guess that's what I was looking for. Dropping you off, not making any kind of expectations. If that's the bare minimum, then what does going above and beyond even look like? Like, genuinely. Because, like, I think getting flowers is above and beyond. I think opening a car door is going above and beyond. I would even go so far as to say paying for dinner is going above and beyond on a first date, right? Because you don't know this other person's intentions at all. You're both getting to know each other. And you guys kind of know my opinion on dating, where, like, the relationship is the prize and not any individual should be. So, I mean, a lot of green flags for me. Again, I'm not a woman, and I don't really know what women are looking for, but it really caught me off guard when they're just like, oh, the bar is on the floor. The bar on the floor is he hits you up on Tinder and, like, invites you to his house day one. I think that's a bar on floor. But, like, planning a date, getting you flowers, being a gentleman, being like a traditional kind of man, I don't know. I think he did a lot. What's he gonna say? I think relationships are very complicated these days between girls and guys. The ones who will, like, block him, he's not doing enough, like, life is too short to settle, blah, blah, blah. Those people are borderline beyond saving, if that is, like, a genuine takeaway. Or maybe we've just crossed into this event horizon of social extremism, perhaps. I don't really know how those people became so jaded that that's kind of where they're sitting when they see a video like that. Because even me, like, I'm totally not against getting a girl flowers. I'm totally not against opening doors. But the car door? That's above and beyond, for sure. Because the car door is kind of weird. Like, it's also, we're in this weird point in society where it's like, as a guy, I don't always know what I should do when I'm going on a date. Like, I'm not trying to make you feel like I think you're incapable of opening your own door. So it's like, should I open it? If me buying you flowers is not valued, then I don't want to do that. I'd rather save my money, truthfully. So it's a very tricky situation. I think when it comes to what we're expecting from the first time meeting someone, I think, at least from what might indeed be extremism on the internet, I think girls are definitely failing guys if we're largely saying that kind of first date treatment is bar on floor. Because I don't know what else you do. Like, if you are watching this video and you really do believe that is bar on floor, that is a basic requirement, I would like to know what is going above and beyond. Because keep in mind, this is the first time we're meeting. I don't know you. I have no expectation we're ever even going to see each other again after today, right? How much are we expected to invest in someone who might ghost us tomorrow? So, I don't know. That's very complex, but I saw that and I was just like, what on earth? You know what also I don't really like? Let me get another set in before I say what is likely going to be one of the more controversial things I say today in this vlog. In this very controversial vlog. I hate how this is actually, it was going to be really extreme, but then as I was doing that set and my brain was kind of working, I started thinking about what I was going to say, and it wasn't true, so I'm amending it. I hate how it feels societally appropriate and correct to dunk on men. Like when kill all men or all men are trash and like all that kind of stuff trends on Twitter or X, and it just feels, it's almost like socially appropriate to think and feel that way. And I'm not really a big fan of it. But that's not to say that girlies don't also garner the same amount of ill will for men, because they do. You know, when you think about the misogynistic podcasts, when you think about, you know, all the kind of comments you see on TikToks and Instagram reels. So I think that's like a group issue. I think girls have a problem with it. I think boys have a problem with it. It's funny that I guess the next jumping off point for this is because the demographics have gotten kind of very muddled between each other. There's a lot of issues. In my doing research for this video, you see, you know, people talk about, I wanted to see what girls' opinion on like the red pillars and like those kinds of, I don't want to say fanatical men, because I think people naturally, both men and women, change the way they act based upon the life that they, because just like there's the red pill group, there was the female dating strategy stuff, like both, everybody looks for solutions when they have perceived problems. It's not a uniquely men or women thing, but I think the old red pillars are getting the most attention. And I was kind of reading comments about it, and it's, I think an important statistic is from 2019 to today, there are 50% less men actively looking for relationships. Like they're just, for whatever reason, moving on from searching for that kind of companionship. And so we look to the groups that sometimes cite that kind of lifestyle. People say, well, you know, it's incels who can't cope with the fact that this was literally a comment. It's like incels, you know, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the comment. So the comment is, the red pill is a bunch of pessimistic losers who shit on women because they lack the capability to genuinely seduce them. I think that is not entirely fair. First of all, I don't like the idea of like seducing a woman. It almost feels like you're tricking her, like you're setting a trap. So that sentence already just kind of rubs me the wrong way with the way that it's like phrased. I don't know that I don't feel like, if we're being honest, girls really understand the landscape of dating for like an average man. So when you come at it from like it's a pessimistic guy who's, you know, an involuntary celibate and can't get any women and that's why he's kind of looking to this other ideology, I think it's, number one, you can't really relate to it because I think the girl dating experience there's statistical evidence that highly suggests that the dating experience between the average woman and the average man is incredibly different. I've cited it previously that, like, you know, most Tinder statistics are public access, right? Most women are fighting for the top 20 or really the top 20% of men. So if you're not in that percentage, your options are very limited. I talked to a girl the other day, a while back, some undisclosed amount of time ago, and she was like, yeah, I've had my Tinder for a week and I have like 5,000 likes, and it's just like, what the hell? That's crazy. I would like to think that I am at least an average man in terms of status and looks and personality and all that kind of stuff. And in my first week of Tindering, I got like 100 likes, which, based on what I've seen on the internet, is nothing to cry about. It's doing pretty well. But there's a vast difference between 5,000 and 100, right? I also don't swipe on Tinder at all. I like download it and then I just like put some photos in a quirky little bio, and I just kind of leave it because I don't know. I just don't have the energy to invest in dating apps really. Oh, my bad, no, you're good. What you need? Yeah, go for it. Go for it. I'm not doing more weight. Look at these shoulders. I ain't doing more. But we're gonna unwrap that a little bit more after one more set. My anxiety shot through the roof there. I wasn't ready for a social interaction. I didn't know what to do. Y'all saw that. I'm not editing. I'm not gonna edit it out. You get to see me in the wild. But we're gonna turn this camera off and we're gonna go do a chest exercise. We're gonna go up and wait today. But I guess to continue our little discussion here, I think it's unfair to just immediately label them as just men that are mad. A lot of I've seen posts on the internet, right? I don't know if it's representative of the entire group, but there are guys who will download their dating apps. It's getting kind of loud, so I'm actually gonna just talk into the mic in between sets. We have guys on the internet who will post that, like, I have had Tinder for a full year. They show their pictures, they show their bio from the South. They show their bio and no matches for like months and months and months and months. And, you know, objectively, this is a man who might not be the most attractive, but I wouldn't say he's like not at least average looking. Bios seem fine, photos seem fine. and he just no likes, right? Is that man mad because he's unable to seduce women? He never even gets a chance to, because all of our ability to interact with one another is solely based on a first look. And when you have all the options at your fingertips, and you can choose between any of the men you want, really, you're not going to give people below a certain attractiveness a chance when you're a girl, because girls don't think with their hormones like men do, where we've talked on a previous topic that men will literally match with people they have no interest in a relationship with, and they will lie and cheat and steal to get what they want, and ultimately that does hurt the chances for other men who are legitimately looking for things with people that they are, I think, physically matched with, because I think ultimately we all partner up with people that are like on some level equivalent in status or looks with us, right? You're not going to see Hobo Joe with Selena Gomez. I don't know if that's a good example, but like someone with like no status, it might not be the best looking to someone with a lot of status and is really good looking. It's just typically not how these things work. Are there exceptions? Of course. So I think painting any demographic, though, not just like the red pillars and the black pillars and the rainbow pillars or whatever the fuck these groups are called, painting any of them with just a large swath of they're all this way, I think is not representative of the group. Are there men that might be just upset because they don't do well with women, when they do get a chance? Sure. But I think people just look for solutions when there's problems. And if their problem is, they're not able to get a woman, you find a solution. Because we see the exact opposite is true. So I don't think it's fair to be, outwardly hateful to people who are not outwardly hateful to you. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that portion after a set, because I think it's worth addressing. I'm going to bring politics and religion to kind of illustrate my point with this. Are there bad conservatives on the extreme side? Yes. Are there bad liberals on the extreme side? Yes. Are there bad Christians on the extreme side? Yes. Are there bad agnostic and atheist people on the extreme side? Yes. I think in every demographic there are bad people, if you look. And in some cases you don't really have to look. They out themselves pretty easily. So when we look at the stats that 50% less men in the last 4 years are actively dating or giving any effort to dating, and just to say, oh, they're just a bunch of mad incels, well, that's a really broad brush, and it might not be representative. They're not bad people because they stopped dating. I mean, I think over the course of this series, some of you guys who have paid attention a lot, I like to think that I have pretty neutral and positive opinions on most things in life. And there have been points where I was like, in the last few years, that I was just like, dating's exhausting. I just don't want to do it. It's not worth it. Was it because I was a mad incel? No. I dated a girl for 7 years. I'm not an incel. Some of us, at points, are just tired with society. Tired with how getting flowers, getting the door, paying for dinner, being a gentleman is seen as the bare minimum. Because what I would like to inverse with that statement is, if that's the bare minimum, what am I expecting from a girl in this situation? It's like the bar is in completely different exercise platforms between like first date for a guy and a first date for a girl. I'm expected to do all these things. I'm expected to be interested in her life and push conversation forward and pay for things and just be XYZ thing. And the only thing I think societally expected from a girl is to show up. It's never happened to me because I'm pretty good at vetting people if I think you're boring to talk to, I am not going to talk to you further than like 4 messages. Like, I give people so little rope to hang themselves. But, you see online people talk about their dates where, they go on and the opposite happens. But I'm trying to address just men here. But they'll go on a date, they'll go to dinner, and the girl is just like, it feels like an interrogation. What's your favorite color? Answer, no follow-up question. What do you do for work? Answer, no follow-up question. How was your day? Answer, no follow-up question. What do you like to do for fun? Answer, no follow-up question. And you're just like dragging the conversation by a rope that's tied around this woman's neck. And at some point you're just like, I can't wait to go home. Because it's clear that she's not interested. But you're still expected to act XYZ way, do XYZ thing. Because you see the post. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have seen the post. But the girl's like, what I bring to the table on a first date. And she's like adding up all the like dollar amounts of her makeup. Like all of her makeup that she's using is single use. And it's also incredibly expensive. But it's like by the same notion, the inverse is like, well, do I add the value of my car because I drove us there? Do I add the value of the watch that I'm wearing? Do I add the value of, I don't know, the hours it took me to work to actually pay for the things I paid for? Like it just gets a bit ridiculous. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's perceived effort, right? And if we're saying that men are failing, why are girls not expected to have to put anything forward? Luckily, all the girls I go on dates with put in effort, right? They're angels to talk to. They help me plan the day. I love, like, as awesome as it is for a guy to be like, go to this place at this time, right? Like, have the plan going. Believe it or not, I like to discuss it with my potential partners to make sure it is something that we both enjoy. So I don't really run into these issues because I think I'm pretty good at vetting my partners, but that's not everybody's experience, right? And I think girls in maybe different places locally, right, act differently. I would imagine a girl in New York wants to be treated a very different way than a girl where I live. So I can't give the broadest of advice where this stuff is concerned, but I think some things are shared. But I'm going to stop beating over the first date stuff because that is not the only point that we're getting to here. And we'll do a set and then we'll talk about something else. But I think you guys get it. It's like, if the bar's on the floor for men, well, what exactly are we even asking from women? Nothing. At least I'm not. And I want to talk broadly. Of course, there are guys who can't pay for the date and they don't have a car and they don't have a job and they couldn't put together enough money to buy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if they wanted to, and they're actively dating and girls are taking care of them. But is that the majority? I don't know. It's not what I have personally seen, and a part of gym therapy is anecdotal experience. But I also do read a good bit online. I look at statistics. I try to see kind of horror stories from both sides, and I kind of put together a topic around what I've read. That is tough. That's my catchphrase. That is tough. I think the other portion of this conversation that I've been very privy to, and it has been the most vocal section of the kind of women failing men, is just the inability, I think, for women to really understand and talk about men's problems. I want to talk about an interesting statistic for a moment. And I'm not pointing any fingers. But there's this narrative in the world where men control, alt, delete a lot, statistically. And then there's a narrative of, oh, well, guys don't talk about their problems. I dropped my phone. If guys would just open up and blah, 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 blah. Well, would it surprise you that most people who commit suicide do seek help? There's this kind of general, I can't talk, I'm going somewhere with this. There's this very general opinion that guys cannot talk to women about their problems because it will be weaponized, it will be ignored, and then you're seen as lesser if you do talk about things that bother you. And it doesn't feel like we ever really get support from our partners, even though they broadcast and say that that is what you should do. So where I'm going with this is, guys don't feel like they can talk to women about their problems because maybe girls don't really understand. Guys commit suicide more often than women. Most people get help or try to before they're, ending it. 76% of therapists are girls. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm not presenting it as anything other than just a couple of statistics that may or may not be related, but I think it is interesting. I think there's a couple solutions. One, as men, go become therapists, right? If you don't think a girl can understand your problem or isn't interested in your problems, then we need to take things and find solutions and become therapists. But two, I think societally, we do need to look at maybe the way we are interacting with men's problems. My experience has been very negative from my mother, from my significant others, from every woman in my life. Anytime I was vulnerable, it was not a pleasant experience. Anecdotally, anytime a woman has come to me with her problems, I have been nothing but supportive. I have been nothing but authentic. I've done nothing but tried to help them through the issues. And I didn't think lesser of them because they were having issues. Is that true for every man? Maybe not. However, really the point of this is not to point fingers. It's not to say you're to blame, blah, 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 blah. It really is to say, look at yourself. If a man came to you with problems, would you genuinely be there for him? Would you think lesser of him after the fact? I think oftentimes in our society, not just men versus women, but just generally, when someone comes to you with a problem they have with you, or that might involve you, we get very defensive about it. And instead of hearing them out and adjusting and changing, we flip it and say, okay, well, what about me and my problems? And I just think that that is the first thing that needs to be addressed, right? If we want to have just peace, generally, between, the genders and sexes and all that kind of stuff, we need to get to a point where we can just listen to other people's problems. And I think it goes beyond just, men and women. It goes with politics and the greater issues in society. The biggest problem, I think, is our inability to have genuine conversations with one another without labeling someone an extremist or just like very extreme things, right? Like criminals. You can imagine what I'm kind of getting at here without me saying anything that might be too controversial. I think listening, understanding, and my general philosophy of seek first to understand, then to be understood would go a long way societally. Well, let's get us on. So from here, we're going to go directly across to another shoulder exercise and continue this conversation. If I have to see one more street interview of someone asking if all the men disappeared in the world tomorrow, what would happen? And it's just like, we don't need men, we don't need this, we don't need that. We run the world without it. It's like, can we stop? Like, genuinely? I hate that it feels like it's almost more societally correct to just hate on men, and there's like no repercussions, and you can kind of say whatever you want. And I'm going to give a story that kind of illustrates my point. At my job, a long time ago, not a long time ago, but an amount of time ago, basically, there was this woman that worked there, a cougar, if you will. She went to get lunch, she came back. I was just sitting in my little chair, doing my little job. She walks up to me, an uncomfortable distance away. She smiles at me, she shows me a cherry stem. She puts it in her mouth. She proceeds to tie a knot with it, and we all know what that implies. And she shows me it, and then she winks at me and walks away. I have not been that uncomfortable, I think, after that moment, more in my life. That was like the singular most uncomfortable moment I've ever been a part of. It becomes an HR issue, not because I ratted on her, because I'm not a rat. But I was just discussing it with my manager, hey, this was really weird. Can you just talk to her so it doesn't happen again? I wasn't trying to get her fired or anything, but my manager, who I think made the right call, probably decided that, you know what, that's not cool. We're gonna call corporate. We're gonna get it figured out. Well, corporate basically says they do an investigation. And they say, oh, that's not appropriate. We're gonna give you a written warning, which is basically the babiest thing you can do to someone at my company. And we had to sign NDAs saying we'd never talk about it again. Well, she thought it was so funny that she would then discuss it with customers, just blatantly in front of me. She would have a laugh all the time about it, haha, I did this thing, and never got in any trouble. Made a joke of it, something that made me uncomfortable, got dealt with in a serious manner, and then she was like, doesn't matter. I'm gonna tell everybody, scream it from the rooftops, and then nobody's gonna ever do anything about it. And sure enough, they never did anything about it. And the way I know for a fact that if I had done something remotely, inappropriate her way, they would have fired me so fast, it'd have been unreal. And I guess that goes to show, that's my anecdotal story of how I think societally we treat perhaps men and women's problems. There's also the kind of anecdotal quote of if you were essayed as a man, it's oh, well, how could you be, We, I think, inherently experience different hardships. I'm not saying it's easier to be a man, I'm not going to say it's easier to be a woman, but I think we all go through our own unique things, and I think one of the unique things men go through is where it's societally more appropriate to dunk on us. I think everyone should be celebrated for their contributions to society. Not everybody has to be a steel mill worker. Not everybody has to be a teacher. And I guess where I'm going with that is male-dominated fields and female-dominated fields. Overlap is good, and we should strive to have more diversity in all of those kind of job markets. But some people are better at doing some things than others. Does that mean that women can't go work on an oil rig? Not at all. They exist. Well, do I think that's going to remain a male-dominated profession probably till the end of time? Yes. Is there anything wrong with that? No. I don't think you're lesser because of the job you do. If you're a homemaker versus a CEO, right? I think they're both equally valuable, and we should celebrate what value is being brought to our society by doing these jobs. If every girl decided to never have a child again, we'd be in a lot of fucking trouble, wouldn't we? Same thing for men, right? I think men and women have a symbiotic nature about them, and I think it should be celebrated and not hurt. Let's get a set in. guess the next little talking point I want to get on is the way that I am. Well, I use the word fearful kind of timidly. Like, I'm not sure that that's how I wish to describe it. But when I'm in public, I am very overly aware of how I interact with girls by walking on the opposite side of the street, not walking too close to them, not really making eye contact. In the gym, looking the other way. Because I'm not trying to be a danger to them, and I also don't want to get, I guess, unnecessarily called out for something that was completely unintentional. Are there creeps in the world? Yes, undoubtedly. Men and women. I've experienced the female kind several times. But I also think we should just give people the benefit of the doubt in those cases. Like with my coworker's story, I didn't want her to lose her job. I just wanted her to be better, truthfully. If you think a guy's being weird at you in the gym, catching an attitude and putting him on your TikTok and finding out where he works and trying to cancel him, is that the answer? I don't think so. I think telling your gym staff what's going on, showing them your video proof, letting them decide. This kind of goes into how I hate cancel culture. Like, sometimes the power of the internet and people being able to, I guess, catch people that might not have otherwise been caught when they do heinous things is really good. But man, ruining people's lives over allegations, ruining people's lives because you have a following, and this is not men versus women, this is everybody. If you're using a platform that you have that is large to hurt people, you're a piece of shit. Period. Alright, though, we're gonna try and grab a machine, do one more chest exercise, one more shoulder exercise. I'm really kind of pinched for time here. I had a lot of stuff going on in my very busy life. So we're gonna turn this camera off and we're gonna head to the next machine. I think another probably really pertinent point of all of this is to kind of branch off of interpersonal relationships between men and women. I think societally, men are just in a really tough place also, right? When we think about the economy and our role. I think your value of a man is directly correlated to your ability to provide, and it's harder than ever, right? The average income is down, the cost of housing is up, there aren't as many opportunities anymore as things are becoming industrialized. It's harder to really fill the role, and when you don't fill the role, you don't have any value, and if you don't have any value, you don't have a partner, and you can never have a family, and you're seen as a failure, which is why I don't think it's any question as to why men are also, like, primarily the homeless population. There's no men's shelters, but there are for women and children. There's family shelters, but it's the fact that we have, like, a separate shelter. And I get, obviously, there's the dangers of man, and maybe that's why it exists, but there's, like, twice as much help when men are primarily the ones who need it. There is no one, I guess, again, we'll go anecdotally here. If my job falls apart tomorrow and I have no savings and I have, like, nothing to take care of myself, there's nowhere for me to go. I'm homeless. I'm on the street. There's no one who's going to take care of me. It is not so socially appropriate or expected for a girl to take care of a guy, right? That's why we constantly see memes of, girls working and their boyfriends being bums and they should leave them and blah, blah, blah. But it's totally socially acceptable for the opposite to be true. I'm not saying anyone's a bum in this situation, but as a man who took care of a woman for years of his life, nobody ever said anything negative about her. She was just a stay-at-home girlfriend. It's just how it was. But you be a stay-at-home boyfriend? Roasted alive. Societally. Times are changing and the way we view each other's maybe not keeping up. I see the memes of, men used to go off to war and now they're dancing on TikTok. We live in a different time. Is there anything wrong with guys dancing on TikTok? No. Is it the most masculine thing ever? Maybe not. But why do we all have to be hyper masculine? I get it if that's what you want. Like, go for it and find it. But don't rag on people because they don't fit whatever you think is attractive. Just don't worry about it. That's kind of my whole ideology of, like, if it's not hurting you, why care? I think everyone should mind their own business if things aren't hurting you. Discuss in the comments if you disagree. Let's get another set. I think men get a lot of undue hate with, like, the patriarchy and toxic masculinity and all that kind of stuff, but if my anecdotal experience is anything to speak of, the whole, like, locker room talk, the whole, like, degradation of women and treating them like things to be owned and not genuine people, I've never experienced that in my life. Does that mean it doesn't exist? Of course not. It probably does exist. Is it to the level that people, like, caricature it? I really genuinely don't think so. I don't even know if there is any, like, motive. I think it's just popular to hate men. It's popular to kind of minimize their place in society. And because, we're seen as the dominant gender, we hold the power, that you should pick on the people with power, and I agree with that, right? Like, the people in power should be picked on. However, I'm not in government. None of my friends hold any power particularly, not anymore that probably you, the viewer, has. I just go to work and come to the gym and talk about things that I think are problematic. Men who are part of the problem and part of the patriarchy are your president, and they're your congressmen, and they're your senators, and they're your multi-trillionaires. That ain't me. I think deflecting and moving our anger and hatred to the people that actually deserve it is ultimately beneficial to society. Because I'm as broke as you. Let's be for real. And we don't even have to go anywhere for the next exercise. We're just going to flare these guys out, we're going to crank up the weight, and we're going to do our pec fly. So let's get that first set. I don't necessarily expect everyone to agree with me. I really just kind of talk about things that I see in life, things I experience, and maybe I'm a little bit more sympathetic to men because I am a man. I really do try to be kind of even opinioned on men versus women. I try to see everyone's point of view, and I guess what I just commonly see is I don't like the fact that it's okay. I don't think it's okay to tweet "kill all men." I really don't. I don't think it's okay to say what I think is an appropriate amount of effort, even above and beyond, to be seen as the bare minimum. I don't think it also when guys decide, hey, I don't want to date anymore, there's somehow it's like whatever. If they're an extremist group and they're causing harm, that's bad. I will say that. But if they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to go my own way and I'm not worried about relationships traditionally, and they get out of the dating market, that should be okay. They shouldn't be labeled like negative terminology like incels and all this kind of stuff just because they're not conforming to society the way that you wish they would. Nobody has to do anything. Just like girls, if they choose to not have a kid, if they choose to go into the workforce and do things that are not traditional, that is okay and it should be celebrated. And the exact same thing is, I think, should be true for men, that if they choose to be homemakers and watch the kids and or walk away from dating completely, whatever it is, it's not conforming to social norms, that should be okay too. It's pump cover off time. It's getting hot. All right, let's get another shot. What's up?
Hi, how many sets do you have left? Is the last machine I need?
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah. I lied, chat. I have two. But that's me just trying to be nice. We'll just go as hard as we can. But with that, I'm gonna turn the camera off and scooch on to the car. All right, so that's gonna be a kind of compressed shoulder and chest day, and I really kind of said all I wanted to say. I think it might be, man, are women failing men? In some ways, perhaps. Just in the same ways that I think men are also failing women. We live different lives and we have different experiences and we have different struggles, and sometimes it is hard to see the struggles of the other side, right? Because you're so kind of caught up in your own problems. It's easy to invalidate them because all you see is the cons, right? Like guys will be like, oh, being a girl is on easy mode because like a guy will take care of you, or you could have OF, or like whatever you think it might be. And the opposite is true. It's like, oh well, the patriarchy, and men have more opportunities and you're more likely to hire a guy or whatever it is, or the pay gap, like whatever the other side cites. It's hard to put your problems down, I think, for both of them and say, you know what, there might be some genuine struggles. How can I help? How can I be better? And again, with gym therapy, it's always about setting our own problems aside for a moment, seeking to understand, and then to be understood. Because if you always put yourself first, you'll never get any progress, right? Because you're always putting yourself first. I think societally, we have to be more altruistic. or no progress can ever be made. If you're never willing to listen because all you want to do is put your own problems forward, nobody listens. I think the reality is, just like women, men are struggling in America when it comes to their place in the traditional family home, when it comes to living up to the expectations that the world has kind of placed upon us, and kind of navigating this kind of minefield of negativity, right? I don't want to compare problems. I don't want to say someone has it worse than the other. I think I just want to say that think about the men in your life. Think about your dad who comes home and is struggling with alcoholism. He sits on the couch and he drinks a Bud Light every single day, right? Think about the guy that you knew that might have kind of ended it all. Think about the ex-boyfriend that you might have left because he lost his job and couldn't find a new one that paid all the bills, and maybe you got tired of it, and maybe your girlfriend said, hey, he's a bum, find someone better, and whatever it might be. This isn't everybody, but I think being aware that there are problems makes us capable of addressing them. That's all I really have to say. I think these topics take a lot of introspection. I think these topics take a lot of willingness to say, to take a step back and say, maybe there is a problem. Maybe this person, be it man or woman, isn't the enemy. Maybe they're suffering just like I am in a different number of ways, and saying, how can I help? So that's what I'm asking all of you guys to do. Just help if you can. Be open if you can. And if someone needs to be vulnerable with you, listen. Don't paint large swaths of people with a big brush. There are extremists everywhere in life, in every demographic of people. Nobody is immune to having terrible people. Everyone's lived a different life, and their circumstances usually lead them to the place they are. That doesn't mean they can't change, and it doesn't mean that their viewpoints are wrong. So as always, hopefully we talked about something good. Hopefully we all learned something. I know this is going to be a very controversial video. But if I am not canceled by the next one, you can look forward to... I think I'm going to do another episode of Gym Therapy this week. I kind of got kerfuffled with the whole intro mess up, and it pushed me a day back. So today is Thursday that I'm recording this. This will be Friday. We might do another free day, just record Saturday, post Sunday, and then, God, it's kind of messed up my whole schedule. I don't know. I'm going to do my best to get back on track, because I'd like to post a video on Monday, post a video on Wednesday, and then post a video on like Saturday. It's kind of what I wanted to be able to do. But we'll see what happens. In either case, thank everyone for tuning in this far, and I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day.